Hey everyone, I just wanted to share a really incredible and encouraging testimony to inspire you. I have the amazing blessing and privilege to be able to work in a service station and to be able to hear people's stories and hear, where they've been and where they've come from. It really inspires me and really opens up an awesome conversation. You're in a customer service representative role. You have a awesome privilege. Like, it is such an incredible role to get to know people, to be able to hear their stories, see all people from all walks of life, where they've come from, and everyone is so different and everyone each has something amazing to give. Some people share with you that their family member has gone through cancer. Recently, I have these regular customers that come in because they have accounts with us. And I want to share this in testimony because it's so encouraging and it's so inspiring. And it really shows that even in the midst of the darkest valley, even in the midst of being faced with death, that God is faithful. His plan far outworks any plans that we could ever comprehend. Anyway, it was this one guy who was a regular at my work. One day he just stopped coming in to work, and he stopped, and all of his workmates were coming in, but they were driving his truck and he sort of wasn't coming in anymore. And I thought, oh, this is a little bit odd, like what's happened sort of thing. And anyway, I asked, I'm like, oh, where's the old guy that usually drives this truck? Like, is he all right? And they mentioned to me that he had been randomly stumbled across a party late at night, and these young teenagers had stabbed him right near his heart, and he had been immediately hospitalized, and they didn't know whether he was going to live or not. I just said to God, I said, you know what, God, I need to pray for this guy. He's in some serious trouble and he could lose his life, and I can't even imagine how hard, how much pain he would be suffering through right now, and not only the pain that he's suffering through, but also that his family would be going through, or his grandchildren, or his, sons or daughters. And anyway, I remember praying for him, and it went by months and months and months, and he still wasn't coming back. And I thought, okay, God, I hope this guy is okay. One of the workmates came in, and I just said, how is he going? Is he all right? Is he still alive? And they said that he's going great. He's on the road to recovery. It's awesome. They just missed his heart. Thankfully, they were able to completely help him and be able to do surgery. And they also said that they had found out from doing the operation on near his heart, they had found out in that near that exact place where he'd been stabbed, he also had cancer. And so finding out, he would never, and he came back months later and he said, I never would have found out I had cancer if I hadn't have been stabbed. And they found out, they were able to find it and remove it, and he was completely recovered and completely restored. And I was like, wow, God, in the midst of that heartache and that trouble, no one deserves to have that happen to them. But he would never have found out that he had cancer in his body that was growing and that was developing. He never would have found that out if that hardship hadn't have happened. And I guess it's sometimes in our lives, not that extreme, but there are seasons when we think, you know what, God, what are you doing in this season? I just feel like I'm beating around the bush. I feel like, God, I'm in the darkest valley right now and I don't see any hope. And I feel like this man, who think that, he's faced with this opportunity of possibly even dying. I feel like I'm at the end of my road, God, and I feel like there's nothing ahead of me. God can use, and he does, and he's so faithful in doing so. He uses the trials to persevere us. He uses, and I found this in my own life too, sometimes he will use things that I deem as, this is the end of my road, God, and you have nothing left for me. And he's like, no, this is just the beginning. I have so much more ahead for you. I have called, I have planned, I have predestined. And it's like the word says. And I've got it here. And it's funny because I was looking at my Bible app on my phone and I was like, God, what sort of verse do you want me to share to encourage people on, when they feel like that they're at the end of their road, when they feel like, something major, that they've been stabbed near the heart, that they've been broken, they've been torn down, they don't know where else to go. And, is there any hope? And God gave me this verse on my phone, and then I opened up my Bible and it was the exact same verse. So I just want to encourage you with this verse and what the author, who is Paul, is speaking through this verse. And it's literally, it's God's promise, it's God's truth over our lives and over all of our circumstances. And it's in Romans 8:28, and it's, God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love him. If you love God, if you truly, you worship God, you say, you know what, God, you're above my circumstances, he will bring about the most incredible recovery in your heart. He will bring about something greater. The trials produce perseverance. And perseverance is needed for us to be able to be strengthened in our faith and be able to strengthen in our relationship with Jesus. And so I just encourage you about that testimony, that life-changing testimony for this man that found out he had cancer from being stabbed in the heart, that God will transform your hardest circumstances into something glorious. This is not the end for you. This is not the end, and it's not the end of your road. The road is maybe a little bit hard, you may not understand it. It may be a little bit of a fork and you're like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. But God's faithful and his word is the truth and his word sets us free. And we can know that all things happen for the good of those who love him. And good may not always necessarily mean that it's going to be easy. Sometimes life can be hard and circumstances can be hard, and we're trying to face things that seem contrary to our will and our emotions and what we think is good. But what God thinks is good. He was able to show this man that he had cancer that he'd never known about and that no one would have ever known about. And through that circumstance, he was able to find that out. And that was a God thing. That was so a God thing. The circumstance might not have necessarily been what people had done to him, may not necessarily, we're so quick to blame God for the bad circumstances, but we've got to understand that people do have their own free will. People do choose to hurt other people. And people may choose to slander you. People may choose to hurt you. People may choose to do things to you that make you feel like you're at the end of your road. But God changes that. God doesn't leave you there. God doesn't leave you stranded in the desert. God doesn't leave you wandering through the wilderness. You may be for a season, but God doesn't leave you there. He's faithful. He's a good father. He's a good father who loves his children. He doesn't leave them on the side of the road and say, you're unworthy, I don't want you anymore. I don't think you're valuable anymore. No. He picks up those pieces, he changes them to glory, and he really reveals something incredible within our brokenness. He turns beauty, really, he turns ashes into beauty. So I'm just encouraging you about that, and I hope that testimony has inspired and encouraged you. So have a lovely night. See ya.